The Committee on Environmental and Natural Resources heard public comments today in Augusta on a bill seeking to address solid waste management issues in the state. Representative Jim Dill of Old Town presented the bill. Dill says currently all solid waste from up to 159 municipalities are being taken to Juniper Ridge landfill. He says the waste is not being sorted and that the landfill is filling up faster than anticipated. While Ed Spencer agrees with the issues of solid waste management in the state, he says the bill isn't complete and needs more input from the public. A spokesperson with Casella says everyone should come together to create a necessary infrastructure that makes modern life possible.
So this bill is just kind of directing some of the stakeholders, DEP, Bureau of General Services, et cetera, to get together and say, how are we going to manage solid waste? Now, I realize everybody's trying, the landfill operators are trying, the state government's trying to do everything that they can, but this was just kind of one of those, kickstart. Let's do something, get it done.
Let's bring back the Maine Waste Agency. Well, back in the 80s into the 90s, I don't know the specifics, but there was an entity called the Maine Waste Agency. And they were tasked with developing, identifying and developing landfill sites.
I think part of our job and part of what we hope to collaborate with the state on is really, educating the public, making sure that they understand that these facilities are designed to protect the environment, to protect human health. They're well-regulated, they're well-engineered. When things like odor pop up and we have to deal with those are issues that we take seriously.
A public hearing that was supposed to be tomorrow night at Jeff's Catering and Brewer for local residents and legislators to share their thoughts regarding a contract extension through 2040 with Casella Waste Systems has been moved. State officials say now it will be held on Thursday, February 15th from 6 p.m. to 8 o'clock.